This video is pertaining to the Bakelight bbender system. It's a 3D printed bbender system that I install on these cheap Chinese-made Telecaster guitars, and I put them up on Reverb. I've sold a couple of them. Haven't had. I've had one return. Since then, I've fixed the problem that they were having. I buy these guitars new, but they're very inexpensive, and they come with all kinds of blemishes in the paint. I take every neck off, and I coat just the back of the neck with a clear coat of urethane. I just spray it on. I don't hit the fretboard or anything. But this video pertains to the internals. So these are the internals. It's basically an arm with a spring, with a return spring. In the middle of the arm, there's a hole, and through the hole is a threaded rod. The threaded rod stops on both sides. So I don't know if you can see it in there. And then it's got what I'm calling a tuning block with this tuning wheel. And it just twists that. It just twists that thread, and your locking mechanism goes up and down. The newer models that I've made are actually a little wider because I reinforced this with metal rods. So the one that you're looking at in the listing has the reinforcement with the metal rods. It's got a metal, I guess axle you would call it in here, little metal post that's secured it's glued into the bottom of the plastic. And then there's two bearings in here. I can't remember the exact size. They are 508 RS bearings. There's two of them in there that keep the arm from twisting each way. It's got a little play in it, as you can see, but it's not too bad. And like I said, the updated systems are a little beefier. Should last quite a bit longer with those two little square metal rods reinforced in there. The bicycle brake cable starts in here on this little nub, and it goes around and then out the back, and then that goes to the rear section. You can see the rear section back here. Oops, sorry. You can see the hole back in there. So in that hole, this goes through. And then coming out of the top of the guitar, this is where your string goes through and goes around the other side. We'll get there in a second, though. So on the back side, this is why I've been putting this video off, guys. It's not really an easy system to take apart and put back together. I have to. It takes quite a bit to get it all together. Took me a while to build it, and honestly, it's probably a little more complicated than it needs to be. So you have this rear piece that twists like this, and there's a bearing that fits here. And then I don't have the piece, but there's a back plate that fits on this, and it fits into that bearing, and what it does is it pushes this out to where you get the right distance out of here. And then this comes out of the front of the guitar. I don't know if that makes any sense. There's a huge bearing in here. It's a 6203 RS. It's like 3/4 inch inner bearing, and that's what this rolls around in. So it's got a bearing that turns it this way, that nice big fat bearing I put in there. And then it's got a smaller bearing up here, and then whenever your top goes on, it sandwiches this all straight. I don't know if that makes any sense. This is why you can't just take a picture of this and show it to y'all. It's all three-dimensional because it was done on a CAD program. So it's very difficult to show y'all. But in the end, the mechanism is actually fairly simple. It's just basically the same thing that your bicycle brake handles do whenever you pull on your bicycle brake handle. You squeeze the handle, it pulls the line. You make sure your sleeve is fixed in there. It pulls your line, it twists this. Your guitar string comes out of the other side of the post, and it turns this, and it barely turns it, probably just like a millimeter. I mean, less than 1/8 of an inch, and that string does a nice octave bend. So that's the system. So some of the failure points on this system would be right here in the arm, where there's a hole in here. There's a hole through the center of the arm, and that's where this 1/4 inch threaded rod goes through. Like I said, on the new systems, I've actually made this beefier, and there are threaded rods that go into this arm, and they're epoxied in there, and they go all the way to the back here. So those rods should give you plenty of years of use. Another failure point would be back here. There is constant string tension on this piece. On the newer models, I have a screw that goes through this, and I also printed these off in a higher resolution, which means they're very strong. So it's printed off very strong with ABS plastic, and there's a screw that goes through the top, and that should be enough reinforcement to give you plenty of years out of it. I can replace any of the parts and stuff, but like I said, as far as disassembling it and assembling it, it's very difficult. It's just part of the way it's designed. Another thing is whenever the top goes on to this, so this is the top, this is what you'll see right here. It's like the rear cover. When it goes on, where this post is right here, fits in here really tightly. So little stuff like this, whenever this is all on here and you need to pop that loose and it's on the guitar, you know, it can lead to chipping on the outside of this. Every one of these guitars might have a little chipping. I don't know if you can see it. Well, it's kind of hard to pick the guitar, but there's some chips right here in the paint and stuff. And that's all covered up with the covers that you'll see in the video. I don't have any laying around offhand, but I have some 3D printed covers that fit over the whole thing and clean it up pretty good. But yeah, as far as the mechanism, that's what the mechanism is. Simple, easy, but not simple to assemble. Another thing is I have to tension every one of these, and then I cut the cable. When I tension it, I pull on it, and it's all set in the guitar when I do that. I put the string on the other side of the post so the guitar string is on it. And then I have to pull on this, on the cable, and then there's a little Allen wrench here inside of this ball, this little brass ball. And I have to unscrew that Allen wrench, tighten this with pliers, and then I screw it, and then I cut this so there's nothing to grab onto again. And also, whenever you cut this brake cable, it frays, and you're unable to thread it through once it frays. It's very difficult to work with. Like I said, I can send out replacement parts to people, but you have to be a tinkerer to be able to do it yourself. I would offer repairs, but you know, you'd have to pay for return shipping to me and return shipping, and I would take care of some repairs at cost. But otherwise, if you're a tinkerer, a lot of this stuff can be 3D printed. Some of these parts can easily be remade, re-engineered. I can send out CAD files. I can send out spare parts, or I can send out printed parts. It just depends on your situation. But for the most part, you're kind of on your own with this because it's an experimental system, and I'm not a business. I'm just doing this out of my basement. So I try to keep it as the most affordable, price point that I can, and I'm really not making any money. There's a little bit. I'm making like $100, and it's been a long journey to get it to this point. So hope you guys understand. I hope everything came across really clear. And if you're hesitant, I don't want you to purchase it because it's $400 is a lot of money to a lot of people these days. So if you don't have the money, then don't purchase it. And I am going to give a quick teaser here. I'm coming out with a new system made out of aluminum. It's going to be an over-the-top system, like the Van Rosa, which has been basically discontinued for about a decade now, I think. But it's an over-the-top system. It uses this aluminum bar, and it's not as pretty as this, as the Bakelight, but it's going to be extremely durable. It's going to be a little more expensive, but I should be coming out with those in a couple of months once I perfect them. So it'll be a more durable option. It's all going to be with Squier guitars. So, unfortunately, it does have a Squier name, but it's a little better than no name. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about that, or if you're interested in that, then just send me a message. I'm interested to hear if anybody's interested in an all metal over the top system. Anyway, this is the Bakelight bbender. I tried to build it as best as I could with what I have, which is a 3D printer and a small chop saw. So uh, hopefully it brings somebody enjoyment. I've sold a couple of these already. Like I said, I've had one return. This arm had broken right here, and like I said, the new ones have these brass a metal bar going through them. Hold up 1 second here, and I'll show you the metal bar. It's just 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch square metal rod. I made this arm thicker by about 1/4 inch. And then 2 of these little square rods go into it, and they're epoxied into that arm. And I also print the arm off in a higher resolution. So I guess that's about it. Y'all check out the description and check out the other video I made and before purchasing it. And like I said, if you're hesitant, please don't buy it because I can't handle any returns. I don't have the money to I just can't afford it. So anyway, I just want to get the bbender stuff out there, and I think this is a pretty fun system, pretty smooth, pretty easy to play. But you know, like I said, it's not perfect. So thank y'all.